We're diving into the absolute darkest corners of human history. And trust me, some of these punishments are so twisted, so unbelievably cruel, that you'll wonder how anyone even thought of them. From ancient empires to medieval Europe, humanity has proven time and time again that when it comes to inflicting pain, we've been horrifyingly creative. So if you've got a weak stomach, maybe click away now, because we're about to explore the worst punishments ever invented. Let's start with something that sounds almost innocent, but is actually psychological torture at its finest. The goat tickling method. Picture this. You're tied down. Your feet are dipped in salt water, and then a goat is brought in to lick the solution off. Sounds weird, right? But here's where it gets dark. That goat's tongue is incredibly rough, and what starts as an uncomfortable tickle quickly becomes excruciating pain as the skin gets more and more irritated. The ancient Romans loved this one because it left no visible marks, but the victim would be screaming in agony. But if you think that's bad, let me introduce you to the oubliette. This French word literally means to forget, and that should tell you everything you need to know. Imagine being thrown into a narrow vertical pit beneath a castle, accessed only by a trapdoor above. No light, no air, barely any space to move, and absolutely no way out. You're just left there in complete darkness, surrounded by your own waste and crawling vermin, until you die. And the worst part? Everyone literally forgets you exist. You just disappear from the world, slowly starving and going insane in that pitch black hole. Now, the Iron Maiden is probably one you've heard of. And yes, it's exactly as horrific as it sounds. This human-sized iron coffin was lined with strategically placed spikes on the inside. When the doors closed on you, those spikes would pierce your flesh. But here's the truly sadistic part. They were positioned to avoid your vital organs at first, so you'd bleed out slowly over hours or even days. And these things were often displayed in public squares as a warning. Can you imagine walking past that every day? Moving to Asia, execution by elephant was a thing for over 2,000 years. Let that sink in. Trained elephants would be used to slowly crush victims to death, and in some places like Sri Lanka, they'd even attach sharp blades to the elephant's tusks first. In Thailand, the elephants would lift victims up before slamming them down. It was all about control and sending a message about the ruler's power. The Spanish Inquisition really took torture to another level with the heretic's fork. This device was strapped around your neck with two sharp prongs pointing at your throat and sternum. You literally couldn't move your head without the prongs piercing your skin. It was designed to force confessions while simultaneously silencing anyone who had already confessed. Talk about efficiency in cruelty. Sailors in the 17 and 1800s faced something called keel hauling. You'd be tied to a rope, thrown overboard, and dragged along the bottom of the ship where razor-sharp barnacles would shred your skin to pieces. The Dutch Navy loved this one. And while the British claimed they weren't trying to kill anyone, just inflict pain, that's a pretty thin line when you're being torn apart underwater. The brazen bull might be the most ironic torture device ever created. This hollow bronze bull statue had a door on the side where victims were locked inside. Then a fire was lit underneath, slowly roasting the person alive. But get this, it was designed with acoustic tubes, so the victim's screams would sound like a bull's roar. And here's the karma. The guy who invented it, Perillos, became its first victim when the ruler who commissioned it was so disgusted that he had Perillos locked inside to demonstrate how it worked. Let's talk about scaphism, which might genuinely be the worst one on this list. Originating in Persia around 500 BC, victims were trapped between two boats with only their head, hands and feet exposed. They'd be force-fed milk and honey, then covered in more honey to attract insects. Then they'd be left floating in the sun for days while insects and vermin literally ate them alive. They'd bring victims to shore daily just to recoat them with honey and send them back out. The death was caused by exposure and infection, and it could take multiple agonizing days. Vlad the Impaler earned his nickname for a reason. This 15th century Romanian ruler's favorite method was driving a stake through someone's body and hoisting them up vertically for public display. Victims could take hours or even days to die, and Vlad once created a field of thousands of impaled bodies just to intimidate the Ottoman Empire. Yeah, he inspired Dracula, and honestly, the real guy was probably scarier than any vampire. And we can't forget Linkai, or death by 1,000 cuts, used in imperial China for centuries. This wasn't just execution, it was an art form of suffering. Trained executioners would methodically cut away at a person's body, starting with less vital parts to keep them conscious as long as possible. The whole thing happened in public squares as a warning to others, and it wasn't officially abolished until 1905. So there you have it. Humanity's darkest innovations in suffering. These aren't just stories. These are real methods that real people endured. It makes you wonder what future generations will think about our time. Drop a comment telling me which one you think was the absolute worst. Smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's darkest moments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.